Imagine this for a moment. After half a century of being told that your very nature as a man is the root of all evil in the world, that your strength is oppression, your protection is control, and your provision is somehow a form of patriarchal violence, millions of men simply stopped arguing. They didn't scream, they didn't riot. They just looked at the battlefield that society had turned the relationship between men and women into, and they quietly turned around and walked away. And now in 2025, women are flooding social media with desperate questions. Where have all the good men gone? As if the last 50 years of scorched earth feminism, hashtag Me Too weaponization, and endless shaming never happened. If you stick with me to the very end of this video, you're going to see exactly why this walkaway is not temporary, why it's accelerating, and why the coming collapse will force everyone to face the consequences of what has been built or destroyed. If you're getting value from this and you want more no holds barred, angry guy content that cuts through the noise, smash that like button right now. Share this video with every man you know who needs to hear it, and hit subscribe with notifications on, because we're just getting started. And listen, brothers, if you're tired of watching your wealth evaporate while the system laughs, go check out Angry's Crypto Academy right now. It's linked in the description below. That's where I teach you step by step how to actually buy, sell, trade, and most importantly, safeguard your assets in a world that's doing everything it can to separate you from your money. Click that link, get in there today, and start building the financial fortress you should have had years ago. Let me take you back to how this all started, because this isn't some random trend. It's the inevitable result of decades of deliberate choices. For years, men were told relentlessly that masculinity itself was the problem. Toxic masculinity, they called it. Every natural male instinct was pathologized. If you wanted to protect your family, you were controlling. If you wanted to lead, you were domineering. If you expected loyalty or respect in return for everything you poured into a relationship, you were entitled. Society didn't just criticize bad male behavior, it attacked the essence of being male. And men, being rational creatures who respond to incentives, listened. They internalized the message: the less you act like a traditional man, the safer you'll be. Then came feminism's escalation. It started with reasonable ideas, equal pay, equal rights, but it never stopped there. It kept pushing, kept demanding more concessions, more guilt, more punishment for simply existing as a man. And when men started pushing back even mildly, the response was Me Too, a movement that began with legitimate accusations but quickly morphed into a cultural guillotine where accusation equaled guilt, where due process was called rape culture, and where a single anonymous claim could destroy a man's career, reputation, and life overnight. Believe all women wasn't a slogan. It became policy in universities, workplaces, and courtrooms. Men saw what happened to Johnny Depp before he fought back and won. They saw friends, brothers, fathers dragged through the mud on nothing more than a feeling. And so men adapted. They minimized risk. They stopped approaching women in public because one wrong glance could be harassment. They stopped mentoring women at work because one misinterpreted comment could end everything. They stopped committing because marriage statistics don't lie. Over 70% of divorces are initiated by women. And in most cases, the man loses his children, his home, half his wealth, and sometimes his freedom through alimony that lasts longer than many marriages. Men looked at the contract being offered: give everything, get blamed for everything, risk losing everything, and they politely declined. And women noticed. Suddenly, TikTok is full of videos. Men aren't approaching anymore. Where are all the masculine men? Why won't men commit? They film these videos in full makeup, ring light glow, using filters that make them look 25 forever, while complaining that men have unrealistic standards. The irony is thicker than the layers of foundation they're wearing. But here's where it gets darker, and I need you to really hear me on this. Women didn't just damage their relationships with men, they torched the bridge entirely and then acted shocked when no one was willing to swim the burning river to reach them. They traded husbands and fathers for the state. They said, we don't need men. We have government programs, welfare, child support enforcement, affirmative action, and HR departments that will side with us no matter what. They celebrated single motherhood as bravery while calling fathers deadbeats for not wanting to fund a lifestyle they were never part of. They demanded men be providers while simultaneously shaming men for expecting anything in return, like respect, loyalty, or even basic appreciation. And now the state that they put all their faith in is collapsing under its own weight. Look around you in 2025. The US national debt is pushing past $38 trillion dollars and accelerating. We can't even pay the interest anymore without printing more money, which just fuels inflation. That's eating people's savings alive. Groceries that cost $200 2 years ago are $400 today, and tomorrow they'll be $600. Jobs that once supported a family now require both parents working full time just to tread water. And even that's not enough for most. But it's worse than just money. Digital IDs are being rolled out under the guise of convenience. Apple proudly announces it on your phone. Google and Android make it harder to install anything outside their controlled ecosystems. Cash is being phased out. Stores already refuse it in some places. Your ability to buy, sell, travel, or even eat will soon to be tied to a social credit score, a carbon footprint limit, a compliance rating. The elites won't suffer. The politicians won't suffer. It's the average person, you, me, our families, who will watch everything we worked for evaporate while we're told it's for the greater good. And through all of this, what are women doing? The same thing they've been doing, posting videos bashing men, demanding the top 1% of men while offering nothing but entitlement in return, crying about inflation 1 minute and then filming themselves in the Starbucks the next, complaining that no one approaches them anymore. Men have vanished from dating apps, not because they're all in the gym or making millions, but because the risk reward equation is laughably broken. Men have disappeared from bars, clubs, grocery stores, because why expose yourself to rejection, humiliation, or worse when you can build a peaceful life alone? Let me paint the picture of what peace looks like for the modern man who has walked away. He wakes up when he wants. No one nags him about chores or emotional labor. His money is his money. He invests it, trades it, stacks it in crypto or assets the system can't easily seize. He eats what he wants, trains when he wants, pursues hobbies that actually fulfill him. He has time, real time, to read, to think, to build an online business that runs while he sleeps. He has friends, real ones, not the performative social circle that evaporates the moment you stop providing value. He has purpose that doesn't depend on female validation. And most importantly, he has zero drama, no false accusations, no surprise divorce papers, no waking up one day to find out the woman who swore she loved you has been emotionally checked out for years while planning her exit with your assets. Peace, brothers. Real peace, the kind women claim they want but destroy the moment they get it. Women, on the other hand, are discovering something terrifying. The state is not your husband. The government checks bounce eventually. Welfare runs out. Affirmative action hires get laid off first when the economy tanks. And when the real hardship hits, when grocery store shelves are empty, when power flickers because the grid can't handle the load, when travel is restricted because your social credit score is too low, who exactly do they think is going to save them? In every crisis throughout history, wars, depressions, natural disasters, men stepped up. Men built the shelters. Men stood between danger and the women and children. And what did women do with that sacrifice? They weaponized it. They said, you only did that because of patriarchy. They said, we never asked you to. They said, we can do it ourselves, while quietly expecting men to keep doing it anyway. Well, guess what? Men heard you loud and clear. This time, when the real collapse comes, and it's coming, make no mistake, men will not be riding to the rescue. We'll be in our own compounds, our own networks, trading skills for goods, running nodes on decentralized systems, using privacy coins and privacy phones like Graphene OS or Linux builds that the system can't track. We'll have our food stockpiles, our water filtration, our solar setups. We'll have communities of other men who understand that trust is earned, not demanded. Women will be left holding the bag they insisted on carrying alone. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. They'll be on TikTok crying, "Why won't men help us?" while still wearing the makeup and filters, still demanding six figures and six pack abs from men who are just trying to survive. They'll deploy every tactic in the book: shaming, guilt, insults, gaslighting, because that's what they've been taught works on men. But it won't work anymore. The spell is broken. Men have learned a painful but liberating truth. Women operate primarily on emotion, not logic. You cannot argue a woman into rationality when her feelings are threatened. Her emotions will always override facts. Men wasted decades trying to appeal to logic, fairness, reciprocity. We brought data to an emotion fight and got slaughtered. So we stopped bringing anything at all. Now we bring indifference. And indifference is the one thing a woman cannot handle. It is colder than hate. Hate at least means you care. Indifference means you're invisible. And as society crumbles, jobs disappearing to AI and outsourcing, housing unaffordable, debt unpayable, freedoms restricted, women will finally have to face the reality they've spent 50 years avoiding. Feelings don't pay bills, hashtags don't stop invaders, victimhood doesn't grow food. They traded real men for the fantasy of an all providing state. Now the state is broke and the men are gone. Some men will feel a twinge of pity. Most will feel nothing at all. No resentment, no gloating, just the quiet satisfaction of knowing we warned you. We begged you to stop. We tried to fix it. You called us misogynists for pointing out the cliff you were marching toward. So be it. Women will fall from the pedestal they demanded society build for them. The higher the pedestal, the harder the impact. And when they hit the ground, broke, alone, scared, with no fathers, brothers, husbands, or even male friends to turn to, they will finally understand what they destroyed. But by then it will be far too late. They told men to go find the bear in the woods. Remember that survey? Millions of women said they would rather be alone in the forest with a random bear than with a random man. The internet exploded with women laughing, doubling down, making memes, stitching videos, turning it into a flex. Yes, all men are predators. Yes, I'd choose the bear. Yes, I mean it. Men saw it. We didn't argue. We didn't write long threads explaining bear attack statistics versus male on female violence statistics. We just nodded, screenshotted it, and added it to the ever growing file labeled Reasons We Are Done. So when the day comes that these same women are standing in bread lines, or worse, when the power grid flickers out for weeks at a time and the temperature drops to zero, and they scream into the darkness for help, the response from men will be the same four words, delivered without anger, without malice, just cold, flat fact: go find the bear. Because that's what you said you wanted. That's what you celebrated. That's what you told the world was safer than us. Fine. Enjoy the bear. Let me slow this down and walk you through exactly how bad this is about to get, because most people still think collapse means a few rough years and then things bounce back. No, what's coming is generational. What's coming is the end of the post World War II economic miracle that allowed an entire civilization to live in fantasy land for 75 years. As of today, November 20th, 2025, the United States federal government is adding roughly $2 trillion to the national debt every single year just to keep the lights on. Interest payments alone on that debt are now larger than the entire defense budget. Think about that. We are borrowing money to pay interest on money we already borrowed, and the interest is now bigger than the military that supposedly protects the country. Every time the Fed raises rates to fight inflation, the interest bill goes up. Every time they cut rates to stimulate the economy, inflation comes roaring back and destroys purchasing power. There is no off ramp, there is only the cliff. Real wages, when adjusted for inflation, have been falling for most men since the 1970s. The jobs that used to allow a 25-year-old man to buy a house, support a wife, and have 3 kids on a single income are gone. They're not coming back. Manufacturing was shipped overseas. Automation and AI are eating the rest. The few good jobs left require 6-figure student loans and the willingness to sit in a cubicle under fluorescent lights while an HR department watches your every word for wrong think. And who filled the gap when men could no longer provide the way their fathers and grandfathers did? The state. Women were sold the ultimate lie. You don't need a husband, you need a government. You don't need a provider, you need a program. You don't need commitment, you need child support enforcement. And for a while it worked because the government could borrow endless amounts of money from the future and hand it out as votes. That future has arrived and the credit card is maxed out. You're already seeing the early stages. Stores that won't take cash, apps that track your carbon footprint before they let you buy meat, airlines that demand your digital ID before you board, banks that freeze accounts because someone reported suspicious activity, which can mean anything from donating to the wrong political cause to withdrawing too much of your own money. This isn't science fiction. This is beta testing. Meanwhile, men have been quietly building parallel systems. We're the ones running the Tor nodes. We're the ones writing the open source privacy tools. We're the ones who figured out how to install Graphene OS on a Pixel and de-Google our lives completely. We're the ones who learned to day trade crypto, not because we love gambling, but because we watched fiat die in real time. We're the ones who started the Homestead channels, the 3D printing firearm communities, the mesh network groups that don't rely on big tech infrastructure. We're the ones who realized that when the system finally locks men out entirely, we won't be the ones begging to be let back in. We'll already have our own table. Women, for the most part, laughed at all of it. Doomsday preppers, paranoid incels, conspiracy theorists. They kept voting for the people who promised more free stuff, more safety nets, more punishment for men who dared to speak up. They kept cheering every new restriction, every new tax, every new surveillance tool because it was sold as protecting women and children. And now those same tools are going to be used to decide who eats and who doesn't. Let me tell you a story that is playing out in real time right now across the Western world. There's a guy I know, let's call him Mark, 42 years old, ex-military, skilled tradesman, divorced 10 years ago. His ex-wife got the house he paid for, primary custody of kids he barely sees, and child support that eats half his paycheck. He lives in a 1-bedroom apartment, drives a 15-year-old truck, and every extra dollar goes into Bitcoin, silver, and tools. He hasn't been on a date in 8 years. Doesn't want to. Doesn't drink, doesn't do drugs, works 60 hours a week, and spends his free time learning solar installation, water purification, and small unit tactics. His ex-wife, she's on OnlyFans now, posts thirst traps with captions about empowerment, still collects his money every month, still votes for the politicians who promise to raise his taxes even more, still complains on TikTok that there are no good men left. Mark doesn't hate her. He doesn't even think about her anymore. He just keeps stacking. Multiply Mark by 10 million. That's where we are. Women are starting to feel the cold. The dating apps are graveyards. The clubs are empty of anyone except other women and the bottom 5% of men who still bother showing up. The grocery stores have men in them, but they're wearing headphones, staring straight ahead, buying exactly what they need and leaving. No eye contact, no small talk, no risk. And the panic is setting in. You can hear it in their voices on these videos. The laughter is gone. The smugness is cracking. They're doing the mental gymnastics in real time. It's not us, it's porn. It's video games. It's Andrew Tate. It's the economy. anything but the obvious truth staring them in the face, they declared war on men, weaponized every institution against men, and now act shocked that men surrendered by refusing to play the game at all. They want you to believe this is just a phase, that men will come back when women decide to lower their standards a little, that all we need is for women to be nicer, and everything will go back to the 1990s when men were still willing to white knight and simper and beg for crumbs of attention. That world is dead. It died screaming somewhere around 2018, and nobody bothered to hold a funeral. There is no coming back. There is only forward into a future where men build lives that do not require female approval, female presence, or female cooperation. A future where men trade value for value with other men, where reputation is everything and drama is exile, where peace is the ultimate luxury and we finally have it. Women will try every trick. They're already starting. At first it was confusion. Where did they go? Then it was anger. Men are cowards. Now it's bargaining. Okay, we'll settle for 5 feet 10 inches instead of 6 feet. We'll even date a guy who makes $80,000. Next will be the shaming. Real men would step up in a crisis. Then, when none of that works, the threats, laws, conscription, tax penalties for single men, mandatory relationship education in schools, UBI, that's only paid if you're in a government approved partnership. Watch for it. It's already being workshopped in academic papers and EU committees as we speak. And it still won't work because you can't force a man who has tasted freedom to put the leash back on. You can't threaten a man who has nothing left to lose. You can't shame a man who no longer cares what you think of him. The leverage is gone. And women spent 50 years burning the leverage. They burned it in divorce courts. They burned it in HR departments. They burned it on social media. They burned it every time they said men need to do better, while never once asking what women needed to do differently. And now the fire has gone out and all that's left is ashes. Yeah, I want you to really let this sink in. For the first time in human history, a critical mass of men have zero incentive to participate in the survival of a society that hates them. Zero. No families to protect because family courts took them. No legacy to build because 70% of young men are childless and plan to stay that way. No status to chase because status now comes from female approval, and we've seen what that approval costs. No religion telling us to sacrifice. Most churches sold out to feminism decades ago. No country to fight for because the military is more concerned with pronouns than winning wars. We are the freest men in history. And freedom feels like peace. So when the shelves empty, when the ATMs stop working, when the digital ID system says access denied because your social credit score is too low, when the power stays off for weeks and the temperature drops, and the wolves, both the four-legged and the two-legged kind, start circling, do not look for the men. We will be warm, we will be fed, we will be armed, we will be surrounded by other men who proved themselves long ago. And we will watch from a distance as the civilization that declared us the enemy learns what life is like without us. Some of you watching this are women. If you're honest with yourself, you feel the chill already. You feel the shift. You see the emptiness in the places men used to be. Good, feel it, let it burn, because the only way out is through accountability. And accountability starts with admitting what was done. Admit that Believe All Women destroyed innocent men's lives. Admit that no-fault divorce turned marriage into a wealth transfer from men to women. Admit that the education system was rigged against boys from kindergarten onward. Admit that had Me Too became a weapon. Admit that the bear meme was the mask finally coming off. Say it out loud. Mean it. And maybe, just maybe, a few men will listen, but don't hold your breath. Most men are done talking. We're done negotiating. We're done caring. We walked away and we're not coming back. Let me take you deeper now, because what we have covered so far is only the surface tremor. The real earthquake is already rolling across the horizon, and most people are still arguing about whose fault the cracks in the walls are instead of getting out of the building. By the winter of 2025 to 2026, the first major city is going to run out of money. Not tight budget money, not we have to cut some services money. I mean flat broke, pension checks bounce, police and fire stop showing up because paychecks stop clearing, trash piles up in the streets, hospitals turn people away because the municipal bonds defaulted and there is no cash for payroll. Chicago, Baltimore, Birmingham, maybe even a California city like Stockton again, but this time on steroids. When it happens, the footage will be apocalyptic, yet the mainstream networks will call it unexpected austerity challenges, digest, while women on TikTok live stream themselves crying in the dark because the EBT card stopped working mid grocery trip. That is the moment the delusion dies for millions all at once. Up until that point, a lot of women still genuinely believe the state is a bottomless ATM operated by invisible, magical, benevolent patriarchs who just want women to thrive. They never understood that the money was borrowed from their own future, plus interest, and that men were the ones who used to be forced to pay it back through labor and taxes. Once the borrowing stops and the men are no longer participating, the ATM screen just flashes insufficient funds forever. And that sound you will hear next is the death rattle of modern feminism. Because every promise feminism ever made to women was contingent on three things it never admitted out loud. One, endless economic growth fueled by borrowing and cheap energy. Second, a critical mass of men who still felt obligated to bail the system out with their labor and their lives. Third, a culture that still shamed men into caring what women thought of them. Remove any one of those three pillars, and the entire cathedral comes down. We are removing all three at the same time. Let us talk about the new male economy that is forming right now, under the radar, while women are still arguing about whether men should be forced to date single mothers. It starts with crypto, but it does not end there. The men who walked away early, 2019, 2020, 2021, stacked Bitcoin when it was 20, 30, 40,000. They took profits at the tops, bought land in red states or overseas, paid cash, no mortgage leash. They learned options trading, futures, perpetuals on centralized and decentralized exchanges. They run bots, they arbitrage, they provide liquidity for fat yields. Their money makes money while they sleep in, hit the gym at 11 a.m., and grill ribeyes at 3 p.m. because they feel like it. Next layer, physical skills barter networks. These already exist. They are private discords, telegram groups, signal loops, and in person meetups that the blue check media will never find because they require vouching. A plumber in Ohio trades a full bathroom remodel for 2 years' worth of grass fed beef from a rancher in Kentucky. A diesel mechanic in Texas fixes a guy's generator in exchange for a pallet of ammo and 6 months of Starlink access. An electrician in Idaho wires a guy's off grid cabin for a percentage of the solar harvest in Bitcoin every quarter. No dollars change hands, no taxes, no paper trail, just men trading real value for real value, the way human beings did for thousands of years before the state decided it needed its cut. These networks are growing exponentially because every month another 10,000 men wake up, look at the news, look at their dating apps, look at their bank accounts being nibbled to death by inflation, and say the same thing. I'm out, nice. They are not all rich. Many are starting from broke, but they are ruthless about cutting expenses. No more $5,000 bachelor parties in Vegas. No more $300 dates that lead nowhere. No more financing a truck. They cannot afford to impress women who will never ride in it. They live on 60% of their income, stack the rest, and turn the surplus into assets the system cannot easily steal. Crypto, precious metals, tools, firearms, land, skills. They practice radical minimalism, but not the fake Instagram kind where some 28-year-old white girl in linen brags about owning 17 items while her landlord pays the rent. This is male minimalism. Own nothing that does not either make money, or protect you. Everything else is dead weight, and women hate it. They feel it like a disturbance in the force. They can sense the energy leaving the room even when they cannot see where it is going. That is why the videos are getting more frantic. The tone has shifted from mockery, men are living in their mom's basement, to bargaining, okay, we admit we went too far, just come back, to open rage. Men owe us protection and resources. Watch the timeline. It is following the Kubler-Ross stages of grief in real time: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and finally acceptance. Most of them are still stuck between denial and anger, and depression is going to be brutal when it hits en masse. Imagine millions of 35-year-old women who spent their 20s chasing careers, travel, and chat only hookups woke up one day and realized the party is over. The music stopped, the lights came on, and every man who could have built a stable life with them checked out years ago. No more orbiters, no more simps, no more emotional support guys waiting on the bench. Just silence and cats and wine and debt. The wall is not a meme. It is a demographic cliff made of biology and compounded bad decisions. And millions are about to walk off it blindfolded while still live streaming about how they deserve better. Meanwhile, the men who saw it coming are already on the other side of the chasm, building rope bridges for the next wave of brothers, not for the women screaming on the edge they helped create. Let me give you some hard numbers most people still do not want to hear. Birth rates in the United States are now below 1.6 and still falling. South Korea is at 0.72. Italy, Spain, Japan, all under 1.3. That is not a recession. That is civilizational suicide. And who is having the kids? The top 10% of men with the bottom 50% of women, and a growing number of religious traditionalists who still believe in large families. The secular, educated, urban professional class, the people who run everything, are simply ceasing to reproduce. The future belongs to those who show up, and most modern women have decided the future is not worth the stretch marks. Every empire that forgot how to make babies died. Every single one. Rome, Greece, Byzantium, you name it. The ones that survived had men who still believed protecting and providing for women and children was the highest calling. We no longer have those men in sufficient numbers because we spent 50 years telling them that calling was toxic. So the population collapses to us, the entitlement programs collapse, the currency collapses, and the only people prepared are the ones society called losers, virgins, incels, and misogynists for refusing to play a rigged game. There is a bitter poetry to it. Now governments are starting to panic. They see the tax base evaporating. They see the military age males opting out. They see the birth rate charts and realize in 20 years there will not be enough young people to pay into Social Security, Medicare, pensions, or even to staff the nursing homes where all these childless cat ladies will end up. Their solution? Force men back into the harness. It is already being floated in academic papers and EU working groups. Bachelor taxes, mandatory civic relationship service, tax credits only for married men with children, conscription that explicitly targets single childless males first, UBI that is withheld unless you can prove you are in a state approved romantic partnership. They will dress it up as gender equity and saving the planet from overpopulation while quietly panicking about underpopulation. They will get women to cheer for it because finally men will have to commit, and it will fail spectacularly because you cannot tax a man who earns in privacy coins and lives in a jurisdiction that does not care. You cannot conscript a man who left the country years ago and renounced citizenship. You cannot shame a man who deleted social media and does not consume mainstream content. You cannot force a man who has already built a life of total abundance and zero obligations to trade it for a woman who hates him and a government that wants him dead or enslaved. The harder they squeeze, the more men will slip through their fingers. We are heading into an era of male secession, not with guns and manifestos at first, but with quiet, relentless exit. Exit from dating, exit from marriage, exit from taxable employment, exit from jurisdictions that hate them, exit from the consumer matrix, exit from the attention economy. Every man who successfully exits makes it easier for the next 10 to follow. And on the other side of that exit is something ancient and new at the same time: tribes of men, real tribes. Not the fake online tough guy stuff, but men who know each other in real life, who have trained together, broken bread together, would take a bullet for each other without hesitation. Men who pool resources, share land, run businesses together, protect each other's perimeter. Men who have relearned the old ways because the new ways led to extinction. Women will call them cults. The media will call them extremist compounds. The government will try to infiltrate and regulate them, and they will fail because these groups are built on radical trust, earned the hard way, not the fake trust of HR diversity seminars and consent workshops. I have seen them with my own eyes. 20 men on 200 acres in the mountains, solar power, well water, satellite internet, armory, gym, livestock, crypto mining rigs, humming and shipping containers, cooled by mountain air. They work 4 hours a day maintaining the place, train 2 hours, read and discuss the classics 2 hours, and spend the rest of the time doing whatever the hell they want. Zero women, zero drama, zero bills they cannot pay in a weekend. Abundance so extreme, it feels like cheating. Multiply that by 1,000 hidden locations most of you will never hear about, and you start to understand the scale of what is coming. Women are not building parallel systems. They are still waiting for the current one to start working again. They are still making manifestation boards and vision boards and future husband lists while the grocery store starts limiting meat purchases to £1 per ID. That is the core difference that nobody wants to say out loud. Men prepare, women expect. Men stockpile, women shop when they need it. Men train, women therapize. Men build networks based on proven competence. Women build networks based on feelings and trauma bonding. Men go quiet when times get hard. Women go loud on social media looking for attention and rescue. When the real darkness falls, attention will not be edible and rescue will not come because the rescuers walked away. They walked away from the nagging. They walked away from the divorce risk. They walked away from the false accusations. They walked away from the entitled demands. They walked away from a society that told them their only value was what they could provide to people who hated them. And now the bridge is burned, the lifeboats are gone, and the storm is here. So, to every woman watching this who still thinks men will step up when things get bad, let me say this as clearly and professionally as I can. We are already stepped up. We stepped up for ourselves. We built arks while you were laughing at Noah. The door is closed, the water is rising, and this time, nobody is coming back with a rowboat. The part that almost nobody is ready to stare in the face is how fast the geography of freedom is changing right now. Today, November 20th, 2025. While women in the big blue cities are still filming 30-second reels about high value men and standards quietly, without fanfare or press releases, entire male economic zones are forming in real time. Places where the laws still remember that men exist, where the taxes are low to non existent, where the women who do live there never swallowed the Western feminist programming, and where a man with a six-figure crypto portfolio and a strong back can buy a mountain, build a compound, and live like a king for the rest of his life without ever looking over his shoulder for an HR witch hunt or a process server with divorce papers. I am talking about the mass male exodus that is already underway. Paraguay is issuing residency to remote workers in 72 hours if you can show $5,500 in the bank. Uruguay is doing the same. Georgia, the country, not the state, has 0% tax on foreign income and a culture that still respects masculinity. Thailand never closed the door on the digital nomad visa, and the girls in Bangkok still smile when a man walks into the room instead of reaching for their phone to record harassment. Dubai is building entire districts for single Western men who just want peace, Lamborghinis, and no capital gains tax. Panama, Costa Rica, El Salvador making Bitcoin legal tender, Colombia, Mexico, Turkey, Albania, Romania. The list is longer than most people realize because the mainstream media has zero interest in reporting where the men they hate are successfully escaping to. These are not incel sex tourism stories the blue checks want you to believe. These are high skill, high agency men in their prime earning years, voting with their feet and their passports. Software engineers, traders, e commerce operators, content creators, OnlyFans, agency owners, affiliate marketers, drop shippers, guys running AI SaaS businesses from a laptop, men who realize that staying in California to pay 70% effective tax rate, state plus federal plus property plus sales, so that money could be handed to single mothers and illegal migrants was the financial equivalent of setting cash on fire, while a woman who despises you laughs and calls you a loser. So they left and they are not coming back. You think I'm exaggerating? Go look at the residency statistics coming out of Paraguay and Uruguay right now. 92% male applicants under 40. Same in Georgia, same in Albania. These countries are quietly becoming the largest male intentional communities in human history, except they are spread across mountains, beaches, and cities instead of one compound. They meet up in real life. They live together. They do business together. They protect each other. And when one of them finds a traditional feminine woman who actually likes men, the rest of the group vets her hard because nobody is letting the infection back in. Back in the West, the governments are starting to notice the revenue hole. Young men are the most productive tax cattle in history, and they are disappearing, not dying, disappearing from the tax base. Remote work plus crypto plus second passport plus low cost jurisdiction equals a man who can earn San Francisco money while paying 0.7% effective tax and living better than 99% of people on earth. That sound you hear in the background of every feminist podcast right now is the slow deflation of the entire Western economic model. Because without productive men willingly handing over half their life's work, the Ponzi scheme collapses, the pensions collapse, the welfare state collapses, the independent woman fantasy collapses the hardest because there is no more surplus male labor to skim from. And that is when the real desperation legislation begins. They are already drafting it. I have seen the white papers. The EU is floating male mobility taxes, extra departure fees if you are a single childless man leaving the zone. Canada is talking about exit bonds. You have to post a six-figure bond if you renounce citizenship to make sure you pay your fair share for the education and infrastructure you already paid for 10 times over. Australia is threatening to seize superannuation, files retirement accounts, of anyone who leaves for more than 6 months. The UK is introducing digital pound tracking that flags large transfers to non cooperative jurisdictions. And the killer, the single mail surcharge on income tax that is being workshopped in Sweden, Norway, and now California. They are literally going to tax you extra for not being married with children. They will call it a societal contribution imbalance fee or some Orwellian nonsense, but the message will be crystal clear. Your life belongs to women and the state. And if you refuse to serve, we will punish you until you comply. Watch how fast women cheer for it. Watch them celebrate. Finally, men will have to step up and commit. The same women who spent a decade saying, I don't need no man, will suddenly discover that actually, yes, they do need your man, specifically your money and your compliance, and they will use the full force of the state to get it. It will backfire so spectacularly that historians will study it as the death rattle of a dying civilization, because the men who are still in the West when those laws pass are the ones who did not have the awareness, the capital, or the courage to leave yet. The high value men are already gone or planning their exit before the gates slam shut. The men who remain will be the bottom tier, the addicts, the simps, the chronically online rage posters, the guys who still think voting harder will fix it. And those are exactly the men modern women have spent years saying they would never touch with a 10-foot pole. So the state will try to force high value men back at gunpoint, discover they are already scattered across 20 friendly countries, living like gods, and then try to pair the entitled Western women with the bottom 5% men who never left. Good luck with that matching algorithm. The phrase you reap what you sow has never been more literal. Offshore second passports are selling like concert tickets right now. St. Lucia, Antigua, Vanuatu, Turkey, all the Caribbean programs, men are buying citizenships the way women buy handbags. Because once you have that second passport, the game is over. You can be in Dubai one day, Thailand the next, Paraguay the day after, and no Western government can ever touch you again. You become untouchable. Your assets in cold storage, your body in jurisdictions that do not extradite for hate speech or tax equity, your life 100% under your control. That is the ultimate red pill, total sovereignty. And millions of men are swallowing it right now. The privacy stack most of us are running in late 2025 is boringly effective. Pixel 8 or newer with Graphene OS, no Google account, all apps sandboxed, VPN Plus Tor for everything financial, hardware wallet for keys. You never let touch an internet connected device. Monero for day to day untraceable spending, Bitcoin base layer for long term storage, cold storage split across multiple continents with multi sig and dead man switches. Proton Suite for email and Drive, Session or SimpleX for messaging, no social media except anonymous accounts on platforms that cannot be tied to real identity. Burner everything, compartmentalize everything, trust no one who has not proven themselves over years. Women think privacy is for criminals. Men know privacy is oxygen in a world that wants you on a leash. The final stage, the one that will break what is left of the old order, is when these male networks go fully dark. Not dark web, dark real life. When the compounds are finished, when the land is paid off, when the solar and Starlink and water systems are dialed in, when the armories are stocked and the men inside have zero need for the outside grid anymore, they will simply vanish. No forwarding address, no social media, no tax filings, no voter rolls. One day a guy is your coworker in Seattle. The next day his desk is empty, his apartment is vacated, his phone number is dead, and nobody ever hears from him again. Multiply that by hundreds of thousands. That is the ghosting of an entire civilization by its men. And when the women finally realize the full scale of it, when the cities start to look like post apocalyptic movie sets with roaming gangs and empty grocery stores and no male utility workers showing up because they all walked away to their compounds, the screaming will be deafening. They will demand the government do something. They will demand the men be dragged back by force. They will demand new laws, new taxes, new surveillance, new conscription. And the government will try. They will send drones, they will send SWAT teams, they will send child protective services style kidnappings to rescue men from their extremist compounds, and they will lose because these men are not playing paintball. They trained for this. They chose the terrain for this. They have numbers, weapons, supplies, and most importantly, motivation. The state has diversity hires who cannot do 20 push ups and drones that run on batteries supplied by men who already left. It will not even be a war. It will be a slow, painful realization that the leverage is gone forever. The Roman Empire did not fall because of barbarian invasions alone. It fell because Roman men stopped having children, stopped joining the legions, stopped caring about a society that had turned against them. The barbarians just walked in and took what was already abandoned. History is rhyming so hard right now, it hurts. So, to every man still on the fence, 2025, still thinking maybe things will get better. Maybe if we just vote harder, date better, explain better, things will go back to normal. Let me say this as gently and as professionally as I know how. There is no normal to go back to. That world is dead. It died the day the first innocent man lost everything because a woman said, "Believe me," and society obeyed. It died the day divorce courts became wealth extraction machines. It died the day boys were drugged in schools for acting like boys. It died the day the bear meme went viral and women celebrated it. The only question left is what you are going to build in its place. Build it with other men. Build it far away from the collapse. Build it on your terms, with your rules, surrounded by brothers who would die for you because you have already proven you would die for them. And to every woman who spent the last decade laughing at men, shaming men, bleeding men dry, celebrating your independence while quietly expecting men to keep the lights on anyway. Enjoy the independence you fought so hard for. You won. Congratulations, but you are free now. Free from male protection, free from male provision, free from male attention, free from male rescue. We heard you, we believed you, we left you alone. Exactly like you asked. And when the real darkness comes, when the power is out for good, when the grocery stores are empty, when the state checks bounce, and the wolves are at the door, do not call for us. We will be on a mountain somewhere, or a beach, or a farm, surrounded by peace we built with our own hands, drinking something cold, watching the sunset, and for the first time in our lives, completely and utterly unbothered by what happens next. Because all roads led here. Men walking away. This is what winning looks like. Not the fake winning society sold you, where winning meant a bigger house you don't own, a wife who secretly resents you, kids who are taught to call you toxic, and a boss who can fire you for your private opinions. No. This is the real winning. Waking up at whatever time your body decides, checking your wallet and seeing the number only goes up. Training because you want to be a weapon, not because some app is shaming you. Eating ribeyes and eggs while the rest of the world argues about seed oils on credit card debt. Surrounding yourself with brothers who would drag you out of a burning building without posting about it first. And knowing deep in your bones that no woman, no government, no corporation, no blue haired HR parasite can ever touch your peace again. That is winning. And the best part, it is still early. The doors are still open. The passports are still cheap. The land is still affordable. The networks are still welcoming vetted men with open arms. The collapse is still in the warm up phase. Most men are still asleep, still grinding, still hoping if they just hit six figures, hit 200 pounds on bench, hit 35 with no kids, maybe then the girls will finally treat them with basic respect. They are still negotiating with terrorists who have already told them they will never compromise. You do not negotiate with people who want you dead or enslaved. You leave, you build, you win. If you are listening to this in November 2025 and you have not started your exit plan yet, let me give you the exact playbook the men who are already free used. This is not theory. This is the map thousands of us followed step by step. Step 1, get your income online and location independent yesterday. If your job requires you to be in an office in a blue state or a Western country that hates you, you are already behind. Learn copywriting, learn media buying, learn SEO, learn software development, learn trading, learn e commerce, learn something that pays you in dollars or crypto from anywhere on earth. The barrier to entry has never been lower. There are 19-year-olds pulling seven figures a year running Twitter agencies for OF girls. There are 45-year-old former truck drivers making high six figures trading futures from a laptop in Thailand. The information is free. The excuses are over. Step 2. Delete every expense that does not directly contribute to your freedom. Cancel the gym membership and buy a power rack and plates for the garage. Cancel the $80,000 truck and drive a 2010 Honda Civic you paid cash for. Cancel the $300 dates and the $1,200 apartments downtown. Live like a monk for 24 months and stack every dollar. The average man wastes $1,800 a month on status signaling and female validation. Cut that out, and you are a millionaire in 5 years, even on a $70,000 salary. Step 3. Move the stack into assets the system cannot seize tomorrow. Bitcoin based chain. Monero for spending. Physical silver and gold buried in places only you know. Hardware wallets. Multi-sig. Dead man switches. Seed phrases tattooed in code on your body if you have to. Do not leave 6 or 7 figures sitting in a bank account waiting for the next debanking wave because you posted the wrong meme in 2019. Step 4. Get a Plan B residency or citizenship before the prices triple and the waiting list become 10 years. Paraguay is still the best bang for buck right now. $5,500 in the bank, clean record, 72-hour approval. Uruguay, if you want first world infrastructure. Georgia, if you want zero tax on foreign income and mountains that look like Lord of the Rings. Turkey citizenship by investment if you have $400,000 burning a hole in your pocket and want to be in Europe without being in Europe. Do it now. In 2 years, these programs will either be closed to new applicants or cost 10 times as much. Step 5. Build or join a real life tribe, not an online echo chamber. Real men you can call at 3 a.m. when the SHTF. Start with the privacy-focused Discords and Telegram groups that require vouching. Show up to the meetups in Texas, Idaho, Florida, Tennessee, Poland, Serbia, Thailand. Lift with them, shoot with them, break bread with them. Prove over months and years that you are solid. When the compound doors open, you will already be inside. Step 6. Go dark. Delete Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn. If your real name is attached to it and it is not making you money, kill it. Move to a burner identity for anything public facing. Use pseudonyms. Compartmentalize. The less the system knows about where you are, what you earn, and who you associate with, the safer you are when the dragnet starts looking for tax cattle to round up. Step 7. Train like your life depends on it because one day it will. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, boxing, wrestling, whatever gets you comfortable with violence. Strength training 5 days a week. Rucking with 50 pounds until you can move all day without breaking. Firearms proficiency until you can run a plate carrier in a rifle better than most active duty military. Trauma medicine. Land navigation without GPS. Water purification. Food production. You are not paranoid. You are prepared. There is a difference. Do these 7 things, and within 36 months, you will look back at the man listening to this right now and barely recognize him. You will be debt free, location free, surveillance free, drama free, and most importantly, future free of the collapse that is about to swallow the old world whole. And when that collapse finally hits critical mass, when the cities burn because the EBT card stopped working, when the power grid goes down for weeks because there aren't enough men left who care to fix it, when the last helicopter out of the Western Saigon is lifting off and the women who spent years laughing at doomers are clawing at the skids, you will be somewhere high up or far away or both, grill going, cold drink in hand, brothers laughing around you, watching the sunset paint the sky blood red, and you will feel exactly one thing: nothing, and no guilt, no regret, no urge to help, and no desire to gloat, just the deep, quiet satisfaction of a man who saw the cliff, warned everyone who would listen, got called every name in the book for it, and then calmly walked away and built his own paradise while the lemmings kept marching. That is winning. And it is available to any man willing to stop arguing, stop explaining, stop caring what they think, and start building. The age of debate is over. The age of construction has begun. All roads still lead to MWA. Men walking away is not a slogan anymore. It is a civilization in exile building the next one, brick by brick, Bitcoin by Bitcoin, brother by brother. Get on the right side of history while there is still time. Because when the music stops, there will be no more chairs, no more warnings, no more mercy, only consequences and peace for the men who earned it. What did you think about all of this? Seriously, I want to know. Are you already on your way out? Still stuck in the matrix, hoping it gets better? Drop your story below, no filter. I read every comment. Like the video if it hits you in the chest. Subscribe if you're not already. Share it with every man who still has a pulse and a pair. And just remember, all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.